In today's video, I'm going to bring you through a strategy that is really interesting when it comes to finding new avatars and angles. But instead of talking theory, I'm actually going to go and use ChatGPT and go on Reddit and forums and TikTok and actually bring you through the process of doing it yourself. The activity that I'm talking about is essentially going and finding a market gap that is less saturated, that can allow you to break through numbers just like this one for this client, for example. This is one of our own clients. Just so you have some context of the type of caliber of clients that we work with. We work with 8-figure brands, 7-figure brands as well, and I see a huge gap in the way that they are approaching marketing. A lot of people can't scale not because they are not really that good at doing ads, right? In many cases, they're just in the wrong vehicle. They're showcasing ads in just such a red ocean saturated market that is just extremely hard. Okay, and so in many cases, we have to be a bit more creative in finding just better angles, better avatars that just give us a shot to be profitable from day one and actually conquer a marketplace. So what I'm going to do in this video is pretty much, before I bring you through a ChatGPT framework that I use that is really helpful and something that my team also uses internally. The thing that we use to essentially find ideas, angles, avatars, because everybody asks me, okay, you talk about avatars, you talk about funnels and building congruent sales funnels for a specific avatar with a specific angle, but you never actually show the process of going through this, okay? I'm going to do this in this video, but before we get going, this is essentially what I'm talking about when I say red ocean, right? In this example, in this entire video, I'm going to talk about approaching an anti-aging skincare market that is typically worth, it's not even 20 billion. I saw that it's more closer to 70 billion. And so this is what most people would target, the Jennifer who is, 50 or 60-year-old, whatever, that it wants to rejuvenate. And right, that is basically such a saturated market. And so what we want to go ahead and find is strategically go ahead into the marketplace, analyze gaps into the market, right, that are less saturated, more specific, so that our messaging overall, not only we're targeting to a less saturated space, so giving us a better shot at being profitable and getting market share, but it's also a lot more personalized, because if we go after menopause women, or if we go after women that have, take birth control or whatever, that influences with their skin, we're going after a specific problem, a specific solution, a specific avatar. Now, what I'm going through, the concepts and these specific concepts that I'm bringing you through right now, I'm not saying it's guaranteed to work. So I'm not saying that if you are in the anti-aging skin and, I'm just showing you the framework of how you should think about testing avatars. Of course, then you have to test them on your ad account to make them work and prove the concept. But a lot of people just randomly choose them and they don't really pretty much do an analysis. So let me bring you through that in just a second so that we can move on. First of all, let's understand. I have a framework here of how I like to start research, okay? And let me bring you through this kind of prompt that you can just copy and paste, stop through the video, copy it. It's very useful. Now, this prompt doesn't give you answers immediately, okay? You have to consider that we use ChatGPT not for quick answers. We use ChatGPT to stimulate our thinking and to come up with better ideas. And I'm gonna bring you through all of these things. I asked a bunch of questions, so stick until the end of the video if you want to see the entire flow of my thought process behind this. Okay. So the prompt is build high converting scalable customer avatars for angles for paid ads. Okay, it's simple. Product context. I like to define the product. I did not put a link here, but I also like to put a link typically. So the product is designed to help women over 40 years old to reverse age. It's an anti-aging bundle that we're selling as a complete solution, morning to evening routine. Okay, so I want to target women who are 40 plus year olds in the United States. Challenge is the red ocean market. There's tons of competition and generic messaging. I don't want to go broad and boring. Example, woman with acne. This is another industry, but you get the point. But I also don't want to go too specific and where it's unscalable. For example, women who need clear skin for their TV show audition. How many people actually need clear skin that also are into TV shows, right? Into I don't know, anchormans. I don't know. You get the point. So not a lot. There's probably an audience of 300 people probably in the US that do that. I have no idea. So we don't want to go too specific. We want to keep it broad and still have a market TAM. So that's what I told it. Next thing is, and once again, this is an initial prompt. You'll see how I go through other things as I go through the video. Goal: create realistic, scalable customer avatars that are specific enough to generate emotional resonance and ad performance, broad enough to have at least 200 million to low billion-dollar TAMs. So between 200 million to $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 billion in addressable market. Addressable market is the people. I then multiply an AOV to those people, and it gives me how much the entire segment or vertical is worth, right? If we go back to this example, anti-aging is 70 billion. If you multiply a lifetime of $200-$300 per user per customer in throughout the year, it's giving you like $70 billion. So you get the point. So another thing is backed by clear pain points, emotional drivers, and behavioral insights. If possible, provide avatars that are in a situational context where they feel stuck, right? But don't force it. Don't force finding those people. But if it can give me like, for example, into menopause, I actually edited this, but I didn't even. Anyway, I'm going to talk about this later, but this is just an example. If you're in menopause, or if you're taking a birth control pill, or if you just had a baby, or if you just had an accident, or if you have a scar, all of these things are things you can't go back in time and change these things. You're just presented this situation. This is the situation you're in, and you just have to move on and find solutions, right? You can't go back in that. So if you can find an avatar where they feel just stuck contextually because of their experience of who they are, what they did, what happened to their life, then it's also kind of like a bit of a major pain point, right? For example, somebody that is fat can lose weight, although that is a big pain point. I'm not gonna lie, but they could technically lose weight, get their mind right? You get the point. Deliverables: 5 unique, high intent customer avatars, unique, non-generic ad angles for each avatar. Also 3, I say avoid generic copy like feel confident or love your skin, right? Make it real, relatable, and grounded. And then these are like some real life examples that I always like to give ChatGPT some real life examples. So a bad example is 52-year-old Sally who wants to tone her body. That's a bad example because it's too broad. A good avatar is 52-year-old Sally who wants to get rid of bat wings but can't lose any more weight because she's already too skinny. Example. Avatar 2, of a good avatar is 52-year-old Sally whose body is breaking down due to her menopause and she has flappy arms, right? So it's a lot more specific. So this is the level of specificity and relatability that I'm looking for. So I'm using 4.0, but when I dive the version ChatGPT 4, but when I dive into like research, deeper research where I want more like proof and research, I switch over to 0.3. As you can see over here, I like to use this one, which it takes like 1 to 3 minutes that I like reply because it's really thinking and diving deeper into with advanced reasoning. So this was the first. So once again, we are into this reverse aging industry in the United States. So this was the first avatar they gave me. Stuck in the mirror, Melissa. She's recently divorced into real estate. Her profile is that she lives in the US. She's got married for 20 years. She's trying to rebuild her social confidence. Honestly, I don't think this is a nice avatar. It's kind of too broad. And she's divorced and a lot of people get divorced, but the divorce angle is like not really like too much of a pain in my opinion. It's just, I don't know. It's not something that I like. An avatar that I would choose. Another one here, 54, full-time caregiver to elderly women. This I think is too specific, but it gave me the idea. Then we have perimenopause Paula, HR director, hot flashes and hormonal chaos. This is something I think is interesting. Not even menopause, but like perimenopause. So menopause is when you hit I believe you're like 45, 47, 50, and you like are into menopause. And then there's perimenopause, which is where people are like 37 or like 40, and they get hit right before the like 1 to 3 to 4 to 5, I guess, years right before menopause, and they start seeing symptoms of how their skin changes. So basically, when you're home, the angle is when your hormones shift, your skin does too as well. Okay, so the other avatars I didn't really like. So what I went on and did is that let's expand. I basically continued the research. I didn't stop here, of course. And I said, let's expand into avatar number 3. What is the addressable market in the USA for perimenopause women that want to improve their skincare with like aging, whatever? And so I'm still using 4.0 at this point. And it kind of gave me like some statistics that are really interesting because if the addressable market is like too small, I'm not going to go after this, okay? But it says 53 million people, of which 85% will experience perimenopause symptoms at some point, okay? Which leaves you with 45 million people, let's just say 40 million people in the United States, which is a big addressable market. If you multiply that by, what does it say here? Relevant psychographic subset, skincare conscious and aging conscious. Okay, so if you want to go after like people that are like skincare conscious as well, it's maybe not 40 million, but it's 17 to 20 million. Okay, so these are the people that are engaged with skincare, and the other 20 million are people that are less engaged with skincare. Now, this really made me think, and I'll explain why. And let's see what my next prompt was. Within this menopause, I actually meant to say perimenopause, menopause, skincare, anti-aging segment, I want to explore an avatar that is more in the unaware stage so that I can conquer a market that is less saturated. Give me some data and insights on what direction I can take. So I took an avatar in the start, over on the top. Then I asked the addressable market. Then here it made me think, okay, what if instead of targeting the engaged skincare users, which probably get a bunch of skincare ads daily, what if we can attract somebody who is not engaged in skincare, is like unaware that they are in perimenopause? And so I was more interested about that. And so once I gave this prompt, this is the research that it gave me. And I think I used O3 here. I don't remember, but I think I did. And so this is the insight that was like, okay, this could be really an angle that where I can position myself in a different way. 70% of perimenopausal women don't realize their symptoms are hormonal. Okay, so 3% of women experiencing perimenopause symptoms don't connect them to perimenopause. They connect them to stress, bad sleep, diet, aging in general. Okay, so this was very, very interesting. So this is your unaware avatar, right? She doesn't realize her skin issues are hormonal. She's not searching about menopause skincare, but she is feeling lost, frustrated, and confused, right? And so this is basically an unaware perimenopausal skincare avatar, which is like a skin fatigue, frustration avatar, overwhelmed. And the angle would be maybe like if your skin stopped responding to the stuff that used to work, this might be why. So we're not telling them like pointing fingers, but we're essentially addressing a fact. Like if you used a skincare routine, right, that worked in the past and it's not working anymore, right, then here's why. And most likely they are in perimenopause. They're right in that kind of demographic where it's like they're getting into perimenopause, and we can approach a very specific marketing presenting a skincare solution specifically for perimenopause, right? And so not menopause, perimenopause, okay? And so here what I asked it to do is just give me more like understand the segment in a better way. And then it gave me like other addressable markets, whatever. It's basically telling me that the potential market size is around 10 million. If you multiply 10 million users by 10 million times, I don't know, $300 in LTV, that's like 3 billion. Yeah, 3 billion. That's a decently sized market. If it's not 3 billion, it's maybe even 1 billion, but it's a good market, right? And so the messaging strategy for unaware avatars could be you don't lead with perimenopause or hormonal aging, whatever. You lead with your skin suddenly changed because it's what's happening to them, or old products stopped working. What's happening to them? You didn't change anything, but your skin did. Or if nothing else explains it, this might, right? And so what I did then is like, okay, I like this interesting aspect of like this, 70% of perimenopause women don't realize their symptoms are hormonal. And so this is what I told it. I like where this is going. I like more research on targeting this unaware segment where we position our marketing as if your skin stopped responding to the stuff that used to work, this might be the reason why. And then we position our product as different as it's specifically centered around treating aging skin after perimenopause is starting, which is different compared to before. Now I want to dive deeper into learning, right? Listen, learning more about this specific avatar customer, go deep into the web, TikTok comments. I basically tell to give you a lot more context. And so here I used O3, which took almost 2 minutes of research. It scanned a bunch of websites, it used research. And so this is what it gave me, right? Deep dive into the unaware skincare fatigue seeker. So perimenopausal women whose go-to product suddenly just stopped working, okay? Why this slice is wide open. I asked it, like I challenged it, like why could this slice be a slice that I can take and be part of, right? So it gave me a bunch of information, and what I did is that as it's giving me the information, I'm going through these articles myself. I'm opening them up and reading through comments and reading through things. So I'm not stopping here and just relying on ChatGPT to give me the answers. I'm going deeper. One example is that as I was going through kind of this perimenopause, menopause research, I click on this article and I realize that everybody's mentioning HRT. And I'm like, obviously I'm not in the industry. I don't really know. Maybe if you were in the industry, you would have known, but HRT is like, it's hormonal something replacement therapy. Yeah. Where basically when you hit menopause or when you start to hit menopause, you can do this like treatment, which lasts for like 2 to 5 years. And it just gives you collagen, or it just gives you like a life boost, and your skin, it just drastically improves almost immediately. And then the only thing that doesn't last of course, a long time. But everybody's talking about HRT. However, so I went and did what are the pros and cons of HRT. And so even if it's something that's super pro, there are also like cons where there's increased risk of breast cancer, increased risk of blood clots and stroke, potential heart diseases. There are researchers that say that the pros are just outweigh the cons. But if everybody's doing HRT and somebody that never heard of HRT, we can maybe lead also with like, hey, I mean, scientifically speaking, I mean, you could have pros, and first of all, it's not a long-term kind of solution, because HRT is like something that you do and then it eventually it feels like, you know, you can't really do it again, I believe, because you're going to age, right? And so it's more about the long-term belief that long-term routine that you need to set up for your skin to be able to like rejuvenate over time. And of course, we can maybe say something about HRT because they probably know what it is. All women do, right? And so this is just an example of like, hey, everybody's talking about HRT. It's really important for me as a marketer to understand what most people are talking about in the industry, why they like HRT, or the pros and cons about HRT. You get the point. One other thing that was really interesting that I read is that 30% of dermal collagen is lost in the first 5 years after menopause, right? And it starts in perimenopause. And so there's also this like perimenopause skin hashtag in TikTok. So I went on TikTok and I just clicked on menopause. And so there's also, I like to do perimenopause because I always get confused. I forget perimenopause. And then I get to see like, you know, viral posts, right? For example, this one, I opened it up and this is what it says.
Skin. Yes, menopause skin. Now I know what you're thinking. What is this beautiful, gay man doing talking about menopause? But half of my patients are female, and menopause significantly impacts your skin. Here's what happens. Not just you, there are real scientific changes. 30% of skin collagen is lost after 5 years.
So this is a big data. And so because we are going after maybe the unaware market, meaning that they are unaware that their symptoms are because of menopause or perimenopause, then we can educate them with an angle that is like more scientific or doctory, right? And so I'm also going through all of these comments and everybody's also mentioning HRT. So HRT is something that is really, really, it's tested, for example, or just go with HRT. It's a fountain of youth. I won't live without it, right? And then there's probably other people and risk for cancer, like, right? So that's the research that I did before. And so these are also could be things that instead of, you can take the angle, yes, you can do HRT, but there's risk for cancer. It's not like and it's not a longevity kind of approach. So here's a solution that avoids any type of treatment that could put you in potential risk of, you know, something that you don't want in your life, like cancer, whatever. And here's like a skincare solution that is long-term, that actually helps your skin for the long term, right? So that's just an angle that I think of. And then you can just read through all these comments. Will HRT help my collagen issues? Everybody's talking about HRT. All I can say is without HRT, it's the dry skin on earth and my eczema flares badly. Thank you for this. Everybody talking about HRT. Okay, anyways, you read through the comments. I'm not going to do it right now, but you have to find the nuggets. I did another example here. I think there was another video, which I cannot find. Let me just go back. I think it was on the other thread here in menopause. And there was like, yeah, 11,000 likes. So how to prevent thinning skin after menopause. Right?
Most doctors don't know this, but in the first 5 years after menopause, women's skin loses 30% of the thick.
Yeah, so once again, this is slightly maybe a different market because it's menopause and not perimenopause. So that's where I need to maybe do a shift in research. But here there's a bunch of, once again, everybody talking about HRT, and then some people talk negatively about HRT. And so then they just talk about menopause. But the goal here is like, for example, I'm 54, but I went into early menopause at 31. And I don't think I have any problem with collagen at this point. Collagen is a continuous issue for the rest of our lives, right? 31, oh my God, that's so young. What is your thoughts about powdered collagen that's trending on TikTok? This is a doctor responding. I haven't seen it. Make it sure it's hydrolyzed collagen peptides, right? So once again, we don't have to go through this now. The thing is that a lot of people don't do this research. In fact, it took me a while to prepare for this video a bit because it's so draining. It's very time draining. I love to go through the research because every single time I go through the research and I find a nugget and I know that a lot of people, like I can see a market gap where there's an opportunity to go in. I'm not saying perimenopause is the opportunity to go in, but I obviously need to do more research. I can't do the research in like 1 hour and then just come up with conclusions. Do research every single day until you can find a clear market gap. To find a clear market gap where you find an audience that is less saturated, that is underserved, that is being served less ads, that's what I mean. It's cheaper to get in, right? It still has a big TAM. Like finding markets like this, you have to kind of like find your own way. Once again, you can also go after a more broad approach, do killer ads, right? But eventually you're gonna hit a ceiling, and so that's where you go into finding better markets, better opportunities, better, less saturated markets. In many cases, if your market is on point, if you're promoting to the right person, right, and it's less saturated, and you're doing all this research, even if your ads are like a 7 out of 10, not necessarily a 10 out of 10, you will scale, right? Because it's how it's literally how it works. Okay, and so what I did over here is that I continue with the research, and here it's giving me more kind of detail. But then what I did is that I kind of just wanted to challenge it even more. So are there more forums and proof that I can take a look at to prove that this is an angle worth pursuing? The angle about women going after this shift, as you say, the shift of like the H shift, it's calling it. Basically the shift of between you being young and you like starting like perimenopause and seeing a shift, the H shift within your skin and how you look and feel, right? And so here what it said. It's giving me more articles and more articles that I can basically go and mine, continue mining to learn everything there is about like HRT, common practices, what people are doing, what people are saying, and then coming up with conclusions. And so the competitive advantage is that, as it says after research, is that this is a less saturated space than targeting fully hormone aware audiences, right? So we want to target not the audiences that already know about these things. We want to target people that are less aware, right? Which is what I mentioned before. So your angles meets them where they are. They're struggling and convenient convinced skincare should still work, and they're already there's already community momentum, right, on TikTok and Reddit. And so the recommended research resources, whatever, next moves. I also asked this other prompt. Once again, I go deeper and deeper. How can we validate the idea of the unaware market where most women in perimenopause don't realize it's actually menopause that is giving them the skin issues? Or is this not a valid claim? I'm questioning it again, right? Asking because I want to go after an unaware market in a menopause vertical. Yes, the idea of targeting the unaware menopause market, especially for skincare, is not only valid, it's high leverage blue ocean strategy because my strong medical behavior and consumer evidence after because it's backed by that. And so here's how you can validate it. 70% plus of women misattribute perimenopause symptoms, right? What we said before. Estrogen loss up to 30% of collagen loss in the first 5 years. So this could be a marketing angle. And so this is also these are some angles that some comments that the ChatGPT saw on Reddit and TikTok. I thought it was just stress or bad sleep. Turns out it was menopause, right? So this could be a perfect hook. You get the point. And so I continue questioning it and doing more research and more research and more research. And so the strong, the conclusion of all this research is that yes, strongly validated. You're not making up a pain point here. That's what I was trying to force ChatGPT to give me better reasons because I don't want this to be forced, right? You're naming it because she even knew it was a thing, basically the perimenopause avatar. And so I think this is a great angle. It asked me if I wanted to do some content and some UGC scripts. I also asked, okay, let's proceed with this avatar. Restate the avatar clearly. I just wanted something to be a bit more structured. To have a clear framework for my team and include 5 unique angles we can approach with all the research that we have done so far. So there's a difference between avatars and angles, right? And so once we have an avatar, then we can approach the avatar with like different angles. And so this is what it came up with. Unaware skin shift, Sarah. A 43 to 48-year-old. I would also debate 35 to 45-year-old because we're doing perimenopause. Year-old woman experiencing sudden changes in her skin. Dryness, dullness, crepey skin, texture, sagging. But she doesn't realize it's due to perimenopause. She thinks her skin routine stopped working or blames stress, sleep, and aging in general. She's frustrated, not yet educated. You see how this avatar is a lot more approachable and you can build an entire ad just for this type of avatar. Of course, then you have to test it to see if it's going to work for you, right? There's so many variables in this, but I actually am taking the time to understand if this is a valid avatar. I'm not just randomly doing it. Demographic, it's giving me the demographic, the psychographic as well, problem aware, frustrations, habits, you read through this, emotional drivers. Why do I suddenly look so tired? I've done everything right. I eat well, I hydrated, what's happening? My reflection doesn't match how I feel. Ideal positioning is, once again, a skincare system built specifically to treat the viable skin effects of perimenopause. Even if you don't realize you're in it. We call it the H shift. We're also giving it a name. Right? We're essentially putting IP on it, right? And so these are just some angles. Angle number 1, your skin didn't change. Your skincare didn't change. Your skin did. Or, I don't know, makeup just doesn't sit right anymore. The hidden skin saboteur. I'm not sure what this is. No one told you about. I'm not sure about these angles. This is just a framework. I did this in like 30, 40 minutes, but you have to go deeper and, hopefully this video was valuable. It was a bit more of a different video, but once again, don't just use ChatGPT. Use all of the resources that you have to make a difference in your marketing. Okay, that is it for this video. If you are a brand that is doing around $100,000 a month plus or minus minimum, and you want to explore the opportunity of working with us, we actually have 1, maybe 2 slots that we're opening between now and next month. So if you want to apply, and you're also going to just receive a free audit from us, click the link, apply, and you're probably going to speak with myself or one of my team members. I hopefully see you on the call, and definitely see you in the next video. I hope as well. Bye.